with all people, especially all people of faith. And I was supposed to stay for 20 minutes with the patriarch, kind of an official visit and a photo opportunity. Well, we talked for an hour, and then at the end of the hour he said to me, now he said, let my secretary give you a tour of the archives. So I was taken and shown the patriarchal archives going back to the 3rd and 4th century, and the bull of excommunication that the patriarch excommunicated the Pope in 1054 when the East and Western churches split. And to me, from my background, it's very interesting. It's like going back and seeing, you know, the writings of the early Muslims. It was very, very interesting. And then at the end of that, he said, and now you must stay for lunch. So we had lunch in this great big long dining room, and he sat at the end. And then all of these metropolitan archbishops from all over the world sat along with their hats and their staffs, and it was very forbidding, really. And I sat down here. And when it was time for me to leave, I was living in Damascus at the time. And in Damascus, they have these beautiful little wooden boxes. I think you've seen them. On the top, they have swirling arabesques in different colours of wood. Very, very beautiful. And what I'd done was I got the box, and into the box I put some of my books. But the box was a bit big, so I'd stuffed chocolates all around the books. And I said to him, I said, "Oh, Holiness, I brought you a gift." "Oh, you shouldn't have brought me a gift," he said. But he was clearly delighted I had. And I said, "Islam, I hope you have a very sweet tooth, because Islam is very sweet." And he saw the chocolates. "Oh," he said, "can we eat them now?" I said, no, they're for you, they're not. And so that started a very important, we'll call it a dialogue, a friendship between myself and the Orthodox Church. A week later, his private secretary, who was an archimandrite of the Orthodox Church, and his title is Chief Secretary of the Holy and Sacred Synod of the Orthodox Church, he added me as a friend on Facebook. So I thought, well, that meeting went well. And since then, just by a simple meeting, you know, and different places I visited in the world, you know, I always like, when I'm visiting, to meet different people. So far on the tour, I met the Bishop of Exeter, the Lord Mayor of Exeter, the Lord Mayor of Nottingham, the Lord Mayor of Plymouth. Tomorrow I meet the Vice Chancellor of Cardiff University. Today it just wasn't possible to meet anyone, the diary didn't work. But when I'm travelling, you know, sometimes there's a Metropolitan Archbishop of the Orthodox Church, and I've no contact details, so I get in touch with my friend on Facebook and say, "Esteemed sir, you know, I want to meet Metropolitan Nicholas of Detroit. Have you got any contact details?" And he gets back and says, "Consider it done, he's waiting to see you." You know, and I've had all kinds of meetings with people. Well, apart from the Patriarch, I met someone else. Now wait for the end of the story on this one before you throw me out. I went to meet the Chief Rabbi of Turkey. So I went to the Chief Rabbinate in Istanbul, and this time there were no men in white gloves, there were young men with machine guns. And we had to go in through doors that, you know, pressure chambers. We got in eventually, we frisked and everything. And I was taken up to the study of the Chief Rabbi of Turkey. Study, very big room, not as big as this, but big, with portraits of all the previous Chief Rabbis. And here at the end was the Patriarch, the Chief Rabbi's desk, and a big portrait of Kemal Atatürk, the founder of secular Turkey. Well, that's another talk. That's not for tonight. And the Chief Rabbi was dressed in the robes of Chief Rabbi. And in Turkish, he's known by the title Hahambasha, which means in Turkish, Chief Wise Man. Now, he was given the title Hahambasha by Sultan Mehmed II in 1453. When the Muslims entered Constantinople in 1453, the Sultan conferred on the leader of the Jews the title Chief Wise Man of the Ottoman Empire. Can you imagine? That's not what the television tells you, is it? It pits us one against the other on the TV. And by the way, what were the Jews doing in Turkey? Well, they were there because they were being burnt to death inside their synagogues in Catholic Spain. And they were expelled from Spain, and no one made them go to Muslim Turkey. They went there of their own choice. You know, this is important. This is part of our history we must never forget. And it's part of our history the world needs to know. Because people pretend, you know, that things are different to what they really are in Islam. And the leader of the patriarch was given the title leader of the Orthodox peoples in the Ottoman Empire by the Sultan. Anyway, I began the meeting. Sir, I said, you honour me and you honour all Muslims by this meeting. But I said, there's something important I have to say before we carry on. Because if you think that my being here today in your office is any way me approving the so-called Israel or Zionism or what's happening to my brothers and sisters in Palestine, I have to leave. Because we really don't have anything to talk about. But if as men of faith, as men of God, we can talk about the one God in whom we believe, I believe there's lots to talk. And he took me by the arm and he said, you're a very wise man, please stay. And I was supposed to stay for 20 minutes and again stayed for an hour. And at the end, after I'd given him the books and the chocolates and told him Islam is very sweet, he said to me, when you meet your Muslim friends, tell them the chief rabbi of Turkey said that Muslims and Jews share a very important phrase together. La ilaha illallah. They were his words. There is no God but the one God in heaven. So, you know, these are important things to say. Interfaith dialogue. You know, it's part of my life, it's in my blood. Interfaith dialogue, it has to be honest. It's not about pretending. It's not about pretending all is well and it doesn't really matter what you believe. And, no, we believe very different things sometimes. And it's important to be honest. But you can only be honest with people if you respect them and speak to them in a very nice way. Anyway, I went from Istanbul back home to Damascus. And I was in the sitting room a few days later of the Mufti of Damascus, Sheikh Abdul Fattah al-Basin, watching the TV. And we watched on the news the F-16 fighter jets come and enter Gaza and start to drop bombs on little old ladies with their shopping going home, and little children skipping in the street, and young men cycling home for something to eat at lunchtime. And the next day, I returned back to Cairo where I live. And in Cairo, a few years back, I wrote for an English language newspaper, and I said to the editor, why don't I go and visit, I'll make a visit to Mustashfa Mahad al-Nasr, Victory Institute Hospital along the Nile. Because in that hospital there were many men and boys who had been injured in the attack on Gaza. I said, I'll go and see them, half an hour, write a story, and put it in the newspaper. He said, good idea, off you go. So I went the next day, and I stayed for 4 hours, because I couldn't drag myself away. I only eventually left after 4 hours because my heart was breaking. I couldn't take it anymore. But that afternoon, I met real Muslims. Real Muslims. You know, we call ourselves Muslims. We don't even get up in the morning to pray. We talk about calling others to Islam. You know, we talk about people behind their backs. These were real Muslims. These men and boys, they'd lost their arms and their legs, and their babies and their homes and their wives for the sake of Islam. You know? And one little fellow I met, little Yahya, he was 8 years old. You can see him on my website. There's a photo gallery of the visit. And little Yahya in his red tracksuit was waiting for his 26th operation. Because he had been injured in the latest slaughter, but he'd been harmed 8 years before when he was in his mother's womb, when poison had been dropped from the sky and she'd inhaled the poison, and the poor little thing had been deformed for the rest of his life. And I said to him, can I have a photograph with you? He's a very pretty little boy. And he managed his best, because his arms were all in plaster of Paris, he could hardly move. And you see a picture of him, he's kind of sitting like this. And when, just one other person, I could talk about it all night, but there was another man, a policeman, and he was lying on the bed and his arms and legs were encased in wires and all sorts of things to keep, because the bones were just crushed to pulp, there was nothing there. And the day before, his little baby had died back in Gaza. And I said to him, brother, where is peace going to come from in all of this? Where will peace come from? Peace, he said, We have peace. We have peace already.